Hello. Thank you so much
Hey.
for
Hello.
putting up with my computer decided to restart and do a lot of really bad things. Update its a whole operating system. So I'm on an alternate computer, a lot shittier. So this will be fun. Welcome to another Bad Batch music and sound commentary session with my friends Justin and
Hello.
James.
Woo. Hello.
I'm Xanthe or Xanthe, and we're going to be talking about the Bad Batch episode 7, Battle Scars. I'm super excited, and we like to start these by playing examples and trying to guess where they're from. So, who wants to go first?
I got it. Okay.
All right.
This is something new for me. So if followers of the show, and hello, new followers, looks like we got more people in the chat this week and some new faces, which is awesome.
That's thanks to Star Wars
Yay.
Explained.
Yeah.
Yay.
Yeah, and Xanthe did a great chat yesterday.
Thank you.
It was good to see you. Good. So this is not my primary instrument, but I prepared this just for y'all today. Okay. Here we go. And so the voicings aren't going to be exactly the same. I kind of ballparked it a little bit. Here we go. Is that loud enough?
Yep.
Okay. Oh, 1 second. Let me just run it out
I
again.
already know what this is.
Yeah.
That's such a funny part. I'm so glad you
I
did that
know.
because I was going to pull out my guitar and do that, but I forgot. So thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, do you want to guess? Let's.
I think I know. I think I might know what it might be.
Okay.
It's the we're in Sid's place, and it's some background music for Sid's
Yeah.
place. The first
Sid's
time,
playing-
like
Sid's
space
playing
grunge.
some Nirvana or something.
I know.
Yeah, space grunge. Exactly. And there's more fifths and power chords than what I'm playing. I'm playing like a straight up E minor chord, but I'm pretty sure it's more like just like an E5 chord, E power chord. Or actually I think it's an F. But I'm not a good enough guitarist to play in F. I played it in E instead.
You could have just tuned your guitar string. That's what I was going to do. I'll tune it up to an F.
So I will say I'm actually in my sister and brother-in-law's house, and that is my brother-in-law's guitar that he generously loaned me for today's stream. So
I didn't want to mess with the tuning.
I didn't want to mess with the tuning. Okay.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
But yes, nailed it. First try.
So
as soon as I heard that today, I was like, I got to figure out how to play that. And
so
at
the
least tried to play it.
the shortcut to playing that would be just to like keep an open string and then just sort of.
Well, you could capo it.
With
you
your
could,
other.
You could, I mean.
No, I mean like it sounds like. Do you have a guitar with you, Justin, or am I gonna have to bring out my guitar?
It's in a case. I have a bass.
I have a violin. Okay. Turning it on. Oh, you have a bass.
Bass. Yeah.
And there are also some really interesting pluck strings going on behind this whole thing too.
Oh, sorry. I got all violinist on you.
No, I'm excited to hear your rendition of it. But there's some interesting pluck strings going on in here that almost sounds something like a gujung or like a koto sample or something. There's some very interesting.
Yeah,
that's what I heard at first.
That.
Yeah, that's like where it comes in, and then a straight up like guitar comes in. But it's being put through some pedals and some filters and stuff.
Something.
I mean, it sounds like when you keep an open string and then just with your other finger just slide everywhere. Because
yes,
I mean,
exactly.
I used to do that when I had guitar lessons as a kid.
This kind of thing, like we've got the open E string, and then I got my power chords that I'm basically just. You want to sound like it. Oh, the arrangement that we have here. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
we're like we can't show our instruments. Yeah, as I like add overlays on the fly because that's the kind of day it is. Keep going, keep going. I'm just gonna reposition you. Oh, you're
Take a
done.
whole lot.
Well, now that now that your example's over.
but yeah, I think I'm curious at how it was played. There's obviously a low F being played the whole time, which could just be a tune, or there's like a capo going on there or something like that. Because obviously, for those that might not know, the low string on the guitar is an E, and the F would be the one note higher. So this guitar lick in Sid's bar in the beginning has oh my God, Xanthe, something
This is great.
psychedelic is going. I'm like trying to like give a very beginner Star Wars guitar lesson while like Doctor Strange is happening on my screen here. So yeah, and so the way I'm kind of playing what we were just talking about is kind of like what Xanthe was just talking about, holding that E and then moving power chords up and down.
Yeah.
Or like
This is Star Wars. This is Star Wars.
The fact that there's like so much latency too just makes this funnier because
I know.
yeah. So okay, I do want to talk about that for a second though, because actually I think there were two bits of diegetic music in Sid's bar. And for those who don't know, diegetic means diegetic music, also known as source music, means that the music that we're hearing is something that the characters on screen can hear in their world as well. So it's, anytime we hear like the Cantina song is the most obvious example of diegetic music in Star Wars. And Clone Wars and Bad Batch is playing around with that a lot by putting a lot of in-universe music, especially with Sid's bar. Okay, remember it 2 episodes ago in Rampage when we got that Justin and I actually demonstrated it. No, sorry, James and I demonstrated it together because you were playing the beat. You were saying it was like hitting a salad bowl or something.
yeah, like a metal mixing bowl,
yeah.
or some gongs or some metallic sounds for
So
sure.
I think I heard that again. I think I heard the same diegetic music again.
You
Did you hear it
did?
too?
Where?
Like
I didn't.
after the grunge guitar part. I feel like we heard the same thing
We
from
did.
2 episodes ago.
Oh,
We did.
cool.
Or it was at least a very slow version of it. It was late. It was like the second time when I believe when they're just meeting Rex, and you can kind of hear this metallic rhythm in the background. I for a second thought it was gamelan, and then I had to take a second listen. It's like,
yeah,
no, it's not quite. It's not quite.
It's got
but
that
yeah,
quality to it for sure.
Yeah, I can see why you'd think that.
So we joked I think last week about the music on the jukebox, right? It sounded even more unique, or it actually can't add a qualifier to the word unique, but it sounded unique. And it was interesting. Now we've got 3 tunes that play on the jukebox that we've heard so far. We've got like this Nirvana Star Wars thing. We've got like the one that you just said, Xanthe, that might have played in this episode that we got last week. So here's my question to everybody on the stream, okay? Because I kind of asked this question last week. Which Bad Batch member do you think selected which one of those 3 songs? Which one of which Bad member is going up to the jukebox and selecting which one of those tunes? Which one does it represent?
I think that's a trick question because I don't actually think oh my gosh, there's so much latency. I'm just trying not to look at you. There's I don't think any of them did. I think it's the people in the background.
Okay, well, just for the sake of hypothetical.
Oh my gosh, I'm so bad at getting. I forgot when someone asked the question on Star Wars Explained stream yesterday about the chips, I just freaked out. I was like, how do I answer that? That doesn't
Okay.
make sense.
Well, I'll give you my answer for one. I think the one we just heard, the guitar one, is a record tune for sure. That's like a rock standard.
Yeah, because that's also what
Yeah.
Zeb would play from Rebels.
He's basically Eddie Vedder, like the way that he speaks. Anyway, he's basically a Pearl Jam fan. So
yeah, which is funny because I am thinking like, this is Kevin Kiner's childhood.
Yes, exactly.
Putting this in
Totally.
here right now.
What do you think?
Yeah,
Justin?
I was gonna say it's either Wrecker kind of a thing, or because my other guess would be Hunter, but Hunter gives off either more of a I listen to soft rock in the background kind of a thing, and you don't know kind of a vibe, or like total like hair metal. It's like that Star Wars. Wasn't there something in was it Rebels or Resistance that someone was listening to some like the journey of Star Wars as they were having a day off or something like that? I think that's what Hunter would be into. So yeah, I think I would agree with Wrecker on this one.
Yeah. Cutting room floor is definitely speaking Xanthe's language here.
Yeah, thank you.
Cutting room floor just says.
Answer.
I just assumed it was a regular pitch in. Well, probably.
Yeah.
A practical answer that actually makes sense. Actually,
I mean, technically, the music was playing as they entered the bar, and Wrecker and Omega decided to go get their Mantel mix, which I want to know more about that Mantel mix.
It's totally a Galaxy's Edge thing. So, Cutting Room Floor actually has another good comment that was from before I got on the stream, which was that the score reminded me of Hans Zimmer and Benjamin Wallfish's score for Blade Runner 2049. Actually, I think we talked about Blade Runner in the second episode live stream about that, because there definitely are, throughout this whole season, there are definitely lots of parts like that. I think the part that we were specifically talking about was when they're trying to get the, like, what are they called? The things, the codes,
the chain codes.
The chain codes.
Oh, right.
Yeah, when they're trying to like hack, like it's like it's hackers music. Is what it is.
Yeah, I agree with the Blade Runner comparison. And of course, Hans Zimmer took, most of his inspiration from the original Blade Runner score by Vangelis, right? So I hear obviously both of those influences through Hans and also the original. Especially, I mean, anytime you have like a sweeping overhead shot, all those shots of Braca where they're like sweeping over the landscape, slow zooms, and then you have a low synth going on. Come on, that's Blade Runner, like to a T. So, can't. Yeah.
Good example, James. Good one.
Well, speaking about synths,
let's go.
Because there's the other Hans Zimmer sound, right? That's not it. The other Hans Zimmer. So let's see if we know where this one. Hopefully, this comes through.
Yes.
Is that coming through okay?
Yes.
Oh, yes.
I'm thinking of a specific moment that it was like featured in like for a brief.
Oh yeah.
It's under everything, but so where is this sound good?
It's when Wrecker's freaking out. Is when he's order 66ing.
Yeah, right before he grabs, or right after he grabs Tech, right? And this is another one of those moments like we talked about a couple episodes ago, Xanthe, about like the power of silence before a major moment of impact. Because right before this happens, everything cuts. He's got all the tinnitus or tinnitus, however you pronounce it, like going on. He's got those big swells, and then it's just like stop, burn. Then he grabs his hand,
That I literally everything you just said. It's just such a powerful moment of silence in there, and I'm a sucker for when a show or one of these kind of sequences will have one of those, like, because they have that little like subwoofer drop in there too that goes do. Like and everything cuts.
Yeah.
There's like not even room tone ananymore. Like you literally think like the volume just shut off.
Which is a very Last Jedi type of thing.
Totally.
Yes. So much.
I'm curious. Stefan Schmidt says I was just singing this sound, and I
wonder. Are you okay, Stefan? Are you okay?
So this is actually okay. That is actually like one big spot that I was excited to talk to you all about, because Inception, yeah. Because it was definitely like such an overt stylistic choice, which is, I feel like in a lot of the episodes so far, it's been, the choices haven't been like super bold. Not that, they've just sort of been normal and not too surprising. Just scoring what we see and that sort of thing, and that's fine. But this really felt like they must have taken a step back and been like, okay, well, how are we gonna like change the sound for this sequence, because to convey that this is an isolated, like, this is Wrecker going on a bender. Like, it can't sound like everything else
Yeah.
because it's not like everything else. It's like operating on a totally different plane. So now, like, when I rewatch the episode, I also want to pay attention to whether to the differences in the cinematography and the lighting and like how all the ways they might have made that part sound and look just like a fever dream type of thing.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with what you're saying. I felt that honestly, this whole episode was really heavy with electronics and really heavy with metallic sounds. I think it went with like really playing off of like the ship graveyard, that they're in the starship graveyard, going through all this twisted metal. There's a lot of great metal sound design happening. A lot of little
Yeah, I
cool
was talking
echoes.
about that on yesterday.
And even in the score too, I noticed that it wasn't just like some of it was from the ships itself, and then there was just moments where they were sampling metal scraping against each other, running it through a nice reverb and put it in the distance, kind of a thing that was really playing with all of it very, very nicely. I enjoyed that about this episode. It's definitely the most different sounding score yet out of the episodes, in my opinion.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and what I
And
liked about, sorry, I'm like talking over you.
no,
What I liked about
yeah.
the use of electronics in this episode is that they were obvious electronics. And instead of electronics trying to mimic real instruments, which is like always kind of makes me roll my eyes a little bit, but when it's electronics to be electronics, I'm all for it.
Well, it kind of like it goes to represent some of the programming. I mean, you can almost say that like the electronic nature of the Bad Batch is like their programmed nature, right? And some of the less synthetic elements are more about like their humanity in some ways. And this episode is really about just like, nope, it's computer coded into Wrecker and he's gonna snap. I found that that was the one that Justin played, and Justin said like, oh, this is a very specific moment, is because that synth, that brassy synth that hits at that moment is very different than the other kind of swells and bellowing synths leading up to that, that has more distortion. Or I'm sure, Justin, you could tell us exactly like what goes into making that sound. But I also found like throughout this episode leading up to that point are all those moments like, and it keeps happening over and over just throughout the texture, throughout every scene going, and you're kind of wondering, okay, what is this setting the scene for? Well, is it setting the scene for just the Braca? Is it setting the scene for, just their environment? And I think really what those swells are showing you is it's just foreshadowing. It's saying this is swelling until finally it bursts and it sounds completely different, right? It sounds like a harsh, it's almost like it's burst through the dam, right? So that's how I kind of interpreted all those low swells leading up, because you actually none of them happen again after that. After he blows, you never hear that synthy bass sound again in the episode. It's kind of a key. The dam has burst,
The like unique thing about the synth, also Brad says almost like the seismic charge. Yeah, that's what I was thinking with The Last Jedi. So the seismic charge, I mean, that's not the only time it shows up, but it's the moment when like all the sound cuts out before the Radis explodes.
Yeah.
Before Holdo's, big sacrifice. And, that's just such a powerful moment. It's like the eye of the storm type of sound.
Yeah.
The Cutting
It's just as important to that sound as the actual sound itself, right? Like the seismic charge is like half of what makes it cool is the actual silence before it. It's not even like the sound effect itself.
I mean, silence
like
in general
is so like if you're gonna play that sample, like the first 2 seconds of it would be silence. It'd be like right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, they're using way more shallow depth of field in the photography with Bad Batch. Yeah, I can see that. I think, yeah, like as they're focusing on Wrecker and yeah, you're right. I'm like now trying to rethink this. So shallow depth of field would be like, well, let's see how it focuses on my finger, on my hand. Well, this is a terrible example. Wow, fail. Well, okay. Never mind. Zoom in on the metronome.
Yeah.
No, we're not doing that.
Nope.
No, honey.
Nope.
No. Okay.
Technology is not your friend today, Xanthe.
It's really not.
But no, I hear that, and there's so much internal POV score and sound design. You know, there's lots of like when Wrecker in last episode where he's like hearing Crosshair's voice inside his head, and there's lots of like very close mic'd. Yeah, Xanthe, you've been talking about that this whole time. There's all this like close miking of the sound design and stuff. That's like, totally.
So something that I think was like something that I loved about the bass about the bois was like when things are so first of all when things are so low, like we know that sound is just air being pushed through space, right? So it's all just sound waves. It's all waves. It's all just it's the same thing as like waves in water and waves in other places. So it's sound waves, and then when the frequency of a wave is faster, like this, when the frequency of a wave is smaller, no, oh my God, higher, because frequency is the amount of times it's going up and down, you get higher notes. This is a high frequency. And the lower you go, that means the slower it's going. And that's why, like, when you are looking, I mean, you can't see it too well on a violin, but you still can see, like, it vibrating a little bit. Yeah, you can see that. But, like, imagine way lower instruments. Imagine a cello, then imagine a bass, then imagine, like, an octave below that or something like that. Like, by the time you get to really low stuff, like, you can viscerally, like, you can see and you can feel how slowly it's pulsating. So you can feel almost like it's not like it's almost like not an even sound. It kind of is dotted, like you're looking at a dotted line when the dots are getting farther and farther apart. So you kind of get that. So I noticed that when Wrecker's like freaking out and we hear that really, really low bass sound, it's like it sounds so gravelly because it's so low, and they're not patching up like the in between spots. They're just letting it, like, you're just feeling how slowly it's vibrating. It's very visceral.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's was entirely how this sound is created. It's not only low, but when you're working with different types of synthesizer waves, whether it's a sine wave, which is smooth, that becomes like a sub-bassy frequency. We can feel that. We all know that, that feeling. But when it's something like a square wave that's pointed, or in my case, a saw wave, which just looks like a sawtooth in a way, that the lower you get, all you start to hear is pops. You don't hear the sound. You start. So what the sound is a bunch of saw waves, or what the synth nerds like to call the super saw, the super saw, at very, very low. So not only are we getting a bit of a combination of the low frequency itself, we're getting like 4 saw waves all popping against each other, kind of a thing. So you get this high gravelly, like I love that word, gravelly, that you used. I always say like crackly, or almost distorted but not clipped in a way. There's like a guitar distortion,
like natural
like
distortion.
a buzz. Yeah. That kind of gives it it's just deep chaotic flavor.
Yeah.
Being so powerful yet so cutting. Yes.
Answer this question while I grab a charger. Which frequency has a 2-meter wave?
A 2-meter wave? Oh. I might not know that math. I would guess, let's see, if it's 60 hertz, I can't remember how far
Maybe
1
maybe
hertz
it's like a famous
travels.
one or something. I don't know. This sounds
Because
like
there's a
something Google would know.
distance, yeah, there's a distance that like a single hertz or a period will complete itself. But I'm not sure exactly what the 2 meter one is. Darn. Ooh, now I'm gonna write that down. I gotta go look that up. That's something I should know.
Come on, Justin. Don't you know your meters of wavelengths?
I don't know my wavelengths. The size of my wavelengths.
All right.
All right.
I don't think so. All right. So
No.
I'm gonna do my next one. Okay. Xanthe can hear us. Okay. So, like I told you, I'm hanging out at my sister and brother-in-law's house, and they have a 1-year-old. And this is the percussion instruments we have at hand. So I'm going to use this to recreate a percussive moment of the score. Obviously, it was not played on a set of Remo childhood bongos that are kid safe by not having any lugs or any type of hardware. It's all strapped on. Okay, here we go. So I'm going to perform a percussion heavy moment of this score, which is always my duty on this show, using this set of children's bongos. All right, and I'm gonna send my my score to Xanthe as well, so you can see it. Ready? Here we go. There you go, y'all.
Is it supposed to be like lower pitched or
heavy?
It is
big drums.
Imagine this with big drums. Big drums. That's part of the challenge of the show. Can you figure out?
This is all I got today, Mr. Zimmer. I know you wanted the big drums, but this is all I got today. We'll make it work. Oh, okay. There's a big drum with cool rhythm moment when after Wrecker snaps, but while he's chasing after Omega, Rex is down. If that makes sense, he's shooting the stun ray. Is it around there?
Xanthe, what do you think?
can you play it again?
Yeah, here we go. And I'll sing it as well.
Can you also say if there's other instruments involved? Like, help say what other sounds are involved.
Yeah, there's lots of like synth and it's pretty full. It's pretty full score here. But the most prominent part to me is the percussion, the concert toms. Okay. So here we go. So there you go.
I think that helped. I'm gonna stick with my answer though.
All right. So Justin says chasing Omega. Cutting room floor says, I'm guessing the battle of the top, the top battle. Okay, awesome. Xanthe, what do you think?
I'm gonna go with cutting room floor.
Okay. So Justin is right. This is while Wrecker is chasing Omega down the hallway. And I think it's fair to say that when you find some really rhythmic tom moments, Wrecker is often involved in this show. We've had a number of moments that have these big tom hits, and a lot of them involve Wrecker. One of them that comes to mind was the episode with Fennec, where he's going down the hallway after Fennec, and she just lays
Right.
them out. You've got those tom hits. So Wrecker's instrument is definitely these big toms, these concert toms. And I'm gonna, Xanthe, I've got the score that my chicken scratch score that you can feel free to share with everybody. Here we go.
And this was such a great moment too, I think, with because this was also in combination with the synth sound that's happening. There's big other like rhythmic pulses happening, and these toms just cut through everything in this.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if I just kind of listening to it. It sounds like they're doing some weird time things, but I don't know what you found, James. If
So
it was
this
a little
is
bit
just
more
in 4, and this whole
usually
thing is just in 4, which is interesting. There's a lot of rests, and once Xanthe's with us again, they can put that that up. But basically, it's the rhythm comes out, which is oh boy, what's going on? Okay. Okay.
That was a really harrowing adventure under my desk.
All right. We're plugged in.
Yeah. Yeah, send me the score.
I just texted it to you.
Okay.
But basically it comes out to a 4/4 rhythm, which is just 1 E and 2, 3, 4, 1 E and 2, 3 E and 4, 1 E and 2, 3, 4, 1 E and 2, 3, 4, and 1 E and 2, 3, 4, 1 E and 2, and 3 E and 4, 1 E and 2, 3 and 4, and then we're
That
done.
sounds like Wrecker stuff. I mean, sorry, Wreck stuff.
Oh, it's interesting. No, this is the concert toms that's happening while Wrecker's chasing Omega.
Right. Okay. But you know what? Okay, but Rex music is whenever Rex has been on screen, and I feel like it happened in Clone Wars too, don't we hear, or am I mixing it up? The sort of do 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 do.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
something like that.
That track
right,
is
yeah,
entitled "The Clones." So I think that's a general Clones theme.
Okay.
But I think it gets purposed as Rex's theme often, as Rex's music. There you go. There you go.
It's gorgeous. It's beautiful.
Thanks, everybody.
I do like it. Okay, so do you want to explain what are the two sides here? Just two different.
No, I ran out of room, so it spills over to
okay.
the next side.
Okay.
I like how you went vertical instead of.
It's a great point, Justin. I thought that I'd have more space vertically, but I guess not. So,
in case anyone doesn't know, we're all master's students in music.
Yeah, we all have masters in music.
I don't want people to know I'm a nerd.
That's so funny. Says the person with a Star Wars music podcast.
Check out my shirt.
Oh my God!
Music notes.
Oh, I can't tell that from here.
Oh, that's too cool.
Yo, that is insane. Who makes this T-shirt like that?
I got it from Star Wars in Concert, hosted by Anthony Daniels.
Oh,
hey, I've been to one of those. Those are great.
Those are great. Man, that's awesome. That's a perfect T-shirt.
Yeah.
Anyway, Record Chase. That's the music going on there.
I'll do some Star Wars Music Minute T-shirts like this. It will, like, with music notes as something, as a character. Tell me what characters that I should do. Justin, do another example while I figure out how to get my piano sound.
Okay, I got a sound effect coming to y'all. This one's probably easy, but I like this.
Nice, Justin.
Any guesses? It is actually mentioned in the script.
What do you mean?
As in they comment on this sound.
It's so familiar, and I'm like rifling my brain trying to,
I'll give you a hint.
because there are
It's
lots of
in the
beeps
first.
happening. Okay.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
it's in the
of course.
beginning.
Yeah, no, how do you? Of course. That's why I try to look for a little bit more. Try to look for the unique beeps of the beeps. It's in the
Yeah,
first
what is
half of the
this?
episode. First half of the
Yes,
episode.
First act or first half?
first half.
Sorry, first half of the episode.
Oh, it's the scanning of the chip, right?
That's
Nope.
in the first
Scanning.
half.
Tech is scanning. No, not like while they're on Baraka, but isn't Tech like scanning Wrecker's head for the chip, or somebody's getting their head scanned? The brain scan. Yeah, K-pop time. No?
But not
Okay.
at the beginning.
It's close. It's close in that area of time. They're
It's
on the ship.
so. Oh my
Okay.
God, it's so familiar. Okay. Okay. First, there's the lizard thing. I don't think it's when the lizard thing is happening, and then there's like a blue, and then there's the opening credits. I mean, the opening bumper, and then there's. I think you're mute. Did I mute you? No, I think you're muted.
I think I'm
Oh, there you go. Okay.
just delayed. Okay, so then maybe second quarter. They've got the job.
Okay, they've got the job. Okay. So then they're going to Baraka. You see the stuff. Okay, so it's before Wrecker has his Dianoga moment. Compliment for the sound, I think. Anyone want to help us out?
Anybody got any guesses?
Yeah.
Because I'm just embarrassed now.
Who's got it?
So I promise they did they do comment
familiar.
on it.
Okay, yeah, they do. Okay. Oh my God.
Because they say something like, "What does that sound mean?" or something like that.
They comment about what they're doing. Yes.
Okay.
Give us some more hints that are not overt.
Can you
hints.
tell us?
Tell us how you
yeah.
made the sound.
How I made the sound.
Wait, that's not a hint. How is that a hint?
That's not a hint.
I mean, I'm interested. I want to know, but
it is a sine wave going back and forth, almost just like a European siren.
oh, sine wave. This is the part.
But then there's a little a waver in the amplitude going. So it's not a vibrato; it's more of a tremolo.
Man, what is this sound in this episode?
You're all gonna hate me.
No, we're gonna get it. Is it after?
Sounds like
is it after they catch up with Rex?
It is after they catch up with Rex.
Okay.
So we've left that part. It
sounds
sounds like an alert from the cut. We're getting close, super close, and we're coming up on Alderaan sound alarm. We're getting close.
Oh man.
Okay, so not that this is an excuse, but like, great start. But you know how bad I am at like describing action that's taking place. So if it's like things like, oh, when someone such and such grabbed something, or before someone fell, if it's like anything that's part of the maze of an overall action, my brain's like
totally.
It lumps all that together. The only hope I have of remembering that stuff is like dialogue, or other sound, or music.
They are approaching the planet.
Okay.
They're approaching the ship.
So they're not on the planet
yet.
landed.
They've reached the planet. They haven't landed. They are. Here's a hint. Searching.
Okay,
they are searching for Rex.
It sounds like an alert from the cockpit, but I have no idea what part it's from. Okay.
They are searching for Rex, a place to land.
Something with the. Yeah, I know the sound. But, okay.
I know. Sorry.
No. I mean.
Sorry. I know.
I mean, I like to hear it. I'm just like, that's a note to self. Like, oh, I know this. Like when you play that, I could say it's from the Bad Batch episode, but I can't articulate an answer because I suck.
Are y'all stumped?
Is it before that they scan their brains? On the ship?
Like
is it before like Tech is checking for cellular anomalies.
Right. Yeah, it's right. It should be right after that. But it's
right
before
after
they
that.
land. It's before they land.
Okay. I'm not sure.
Okay.
Tell us.
Shall
Tell
I
us.
reveal? It is Rex's homing beacon. It is the homing beacon sound, and they say, "I'm picking up." As they're saying, "I'm picking up Rex's homing beacon."
Nice.
That sound comes in, and
Nice.
it has a nice little distinct in and out. Looks at it. Echo looks at it and says, "Picking up." I believe it was Echo. "I'm picking up Rex's homing beacon." There he is, and they're going down to find him. I thought that was one sound of the beeps and bloops that happen in that cockpit. That's one of the more outstanding ones, I suppose.
Yeah.
That's not just a button being pushed. Like that is we're picking up on the homing beacon there.
Well done. Well done.
Good job, everybody. Though we're
Is it when
coming
they're
up on
like, "Oh, there's
Alderaan,
the Scrappers
the
Guild"? Is it
cockpit.
before that?
No, yeah. So one more
Homing
time,
beacon.
Xanthe.
Is it when they're also talking about the Scrapper Guild?
I think it's just before that. It's so brief. We're picking up. I've got Rex's homing beacon, and then they land and talk about the Scrapper Guild.
Stefan, I looked it up now, and 2 meters is the wavelength of 171.5 hertz.
That's low.
Stefan,
Makes sense.
how mind blown would you have been if when you asked that Justin was just like 171.5 hertz?
Wait, I don't understand. Is that true?
I would have to look up the. I mean, I'm gonna go with Stefan and say after coming back with such a great specific answer, then it
Let's
must
go with
be
Stefan. That is fact from now on. In my eyes.
Fact. 2 meters, 171.5 hertz. I wonder what that conversion rate is. Oh goodness. Okay, Xanthe, do you have a piano for us?
Yeah, we need some of your ideas.
I got one more, but I want to hear something from you.
Don't worry, I'm just as infuriated as you are. I'm like, James knows. After every time, like every now and then, I just am like, I wish I had a piano, like a real piano, like an upright piano, not like one that I have to plug in and make sure it's like the MIDI is like, make sure I have a DAW open and blah blah blah, because
totally.
And make sure to make the sound, and then make sure that I'm like routing it through the computer. Like, I just want a freaking piano, but it's not easy to just have a piano in an apartment in LA. So keep talking. Sorry, it's clearly not a thing.
All right,
James, you got another one?
You're up.
I got another one. Okay.
I only got 2 this week, y'all.
Okay, I got one.
I learned how to play guitar this week.
Yeah, you did. Okay. I got one more. Now I've got to see if I remember it because I didn't write it down. But James, I think as we were walking into the stream, you said, "Oh, I know what this is going to be," because I was testing the sound. But
yes.
There's a little tribute to the beautiful electronic stuff happening here. So see if I got this.
Let's hear it.
That come through?
That's definitely coming through. Play it again. Are you playing you're playing of like a very specific part, or are you just giving us the texture of the instrument?
Damn it, that was going to be mine.
Oh, okay. It's both. It's the texture of the instrument, and it is a melody that does come in.
That was also my example.
Okay.
Let's hear it.
Okay, let's see if James can get it.
Let's hear it again. Let's hear it again. Interesting.
And then there's a little bit more that goes on, but that's the only part I figured out.
So I recognize this sound because these are like synth bells, you might call them, right? Like if you wanted to like characterize this sound, you might call them like a bell or a synth. It's like a pad, right?
Yeah, it's got
is it a pad?
Yeah, it's a on this instrument it's called the glass pad, which is very
glass pad,
classic 80s DX7.
And where I really heard this was with Omega's theme when she's talking to Wrecker about, and he's apologizing to her at like 21 minutes. That's where I remember this sound happening, but it definitely could have happened somewhere else. But I didn't play Omega's theme. Correct?
So I have a score for this, actually. Let me.
I
will put it up. And I wrote the you'll see. I wrote the dialogue in too, because I'm fancy.
Oh yeah, you fancy.
As my airdrop waits. This is fancy with a dose of suspense.
Things are working really swimmingly on your end today.
It's great.
I swear to God, though, airdrop never works when you absolutely need it to. Like airdrop is like the modern day printer. Like printers never work when you need them to when you're in a rush.
That's so true.
And airdrop never works when you need it to.
That's false. Sometimes
it's one person's
not when you need it to.
It's one person's experience. Whenever I'm in a rush and I need to get something from one device to another, it doesn't recognize my thing. It doesn't. Yeah, it's this whole thing with airdrop on my end at least.
Okay, here we go.
I'm with you there. James. A year of broadcasting for the dance department between 3 computers. Like, yeah, just send it over. Why is it not recognizing? You're 2 feet away from each other.
Exactly.
You're hooked up to the same internet.
Oh my goodness. Absolutely.
I texted it to myself, and my computer, my computer that's even worse than my other computer is like downloading, and I'm like, it's just a freaking image. That's a bad sign. Well, so
told you
the instruments.
Yeah, go ahead.
The instruments that those are being played on, I think it's like 2 separate ones, and there's also some strings that come in the background.
There's some strings. There's some. It's not the exact same pad.
No,
but
it's not. I think it sounds celeste, and it sounds like.
Yep.
It's got a little
with
bit
a harp
more
on the bass.
It's got a little bit more of that combination.
That's what I wrote down. I said celesta or synth bells for sure. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
K-pop times. Yeah, I experienced that with airdrop too. I love it, bringing out the inner airdrop frustrations.
Damn printers. I just had a discussion with somebody that we think purgatory for ghosts is either or it's like parole or something like that. It's like you're gonna go spend time in this printer, which is why every now and then the printer works, and then other times it just does not want to work
because there's a ghost in there.
That's what I'm saying. Printers and projectors, man.
Ooh. Printers and projectors.
Okay, so I'm gonna play it as well with both hands.
Let's hear it.
Oh.
Oh my gosh.
Well, go ahead.
I need subtle shade. The shade. It's so funny. I'm going to play it, but this time I'm going to play it with 2 hands.
I don't know why it sounded like that. Oh my God.
I loved it.
I'll work on
Jane too on these streams too. It's always Justin. leave him alone.
Here we are.
All right,
default
sorry.
patch. Default patch. All right. Default patch.
Default
Create
patch.
a track. What's funny is I need to stop talking myself up. And now I'm gonna play this thing because cross fingers. Let's see how many spinning
hear it.
wheels of death. Okay. Here we go.
As long as it's under 4. That's good.
Okay. I'm just going to put a regular piano sound on because I'm not tempting fate. So, I mean, any more than I already have. So let's get a piano on here. Okay. So if you've never opened a Daw, what's happening right now is, okay, so let me rewind. On a previous video, K-Pop Times asked a really good question, and I felt a little bit embarrassed that we hadn't articulated it. It was actually last week when we were talking about Daw-based composing in relationship to episode 6 of The Bad Batch. And I realized that we went the whole like stream talking about, oh yeah, like when you do Daw-based composing, when you're composing in a Daw, and without actually explaining what a Daw is. So very rightfully,
yeah, I didn't even.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually didn't know what a DAW was. Like, I feel like I was hearing that word a lot before I started to get into recording. I didn't, like, people would say DAW, and I didn't know what that even meant, like, or stood for, you know?
So you didn't even
So
know till more recently.
Yeah, so yeah, sorry we didn't clarify that, yeah.
So are we going to explain?
But we still won't. You got to tune in next week and we'll explain it to you.
That's what Wikipedia for is, kids. All right.
Stay tuned, y'all, and we'll explain next week what a DAW is. DAW is a digital audio workstation, or workspace,
which is what I've been opening on my computer right now.
Which basically just means a piece of software, right? A piece of software that you use, a specific type of piece of software that you use to create music or record music, right? And I think Xanthe was talking about how sometimes within, just like when you're in a word processor like Microsoft Word, it's like a lot easier to copy and paste stuff because it's on a computer as opposed to writing it down on a piece of paper, right? So same thing on a DAW. So it's really easy to write repetitive music because all you have to do is copy and paste what you composed in the software and just keep pasting it over and over again. So when Xanthe was talking about like DAW, this music sounds like DAW-based composing. That's what they were talking about because because the music sounded repetitive and it almost sounded like, hey, this is like an interesting, weird little phrase that happens to just repeat, which is something that you would do if you were writing inside a piece of software like that.
Yeah. And
Shabam.
The reason, it's just a computer. It's just a computer program, and that if you're a composer, because nowadays a lot of the process of composing for a soundtrack or like a score is not a 2-step process of writing the music and then having someone perform it. Now it's much easier to record it while you're making it up. Does that make sense? Is that a good way of explaining it?
Yeah. The difference nowadays between what people have nowadays when they're composing to before we had these programs is that now when you write for an orchestra or whatever, you can actually hear what the orchestra sounds like immediately, as opposed to hearing it in your head, and you don't get to hear what the orchestra sounds like until you go into a live orchestra and hand them out the sheet music, right? Now we can just compose and we've got all the sounds that we want, right?
And the sounds themselves are just getting so freakishly good that I remember when I first started like working with any kind of DAW, that was even before GarageBand. So I was working Finale, which is the notation software.
Oh yeah.
That would play back like an orchestra, but it sounded awful. Like it was like, that's technically a violin, technically, I suppose.
Yes.
That's a flute-ish sound. That kind of sounds like a trumpet.
Like a Casio,
you know what I mean?
Keyboard or something. Yeah.
Yeah, it was just, but you at least got the playback ability, and now it's like, here's the Hollywood string samples, and here's, you got a little Hollywood string orchestra at your fingertips, and
The thing is, I can tell.
Oh no, yeah.
Just straight up, can tell. And I think, we've talked about this on pretty much every stream. I mean, in this episode in particular, there are some parts where it's funny because I'm like, I know that's supposed to be strings.
Right.
But that's not a very convincing, it's not, but it's like so unconvincing as strings that it actually makes me think it's supposed to sound like this version of synthesized strings.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I feel I don't think they're actually trying to quote unquote fool people into thinking it's strings, because I don't think there's anything. I don't think people, the average person, listens to this being like,
Right.
oh yeah, I wonder when the orchestra, like how cool it was when the orchestra recorded that part. I don't know though.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe chat can tell us, but
It's like the aesthetic of the orchestra as opposed to like the fact that they have an orchestra. It's like they don't really. It's not really about the fact that they have an orchestra. It's about I want that general sound, and this is close enough. You know.
Yeah, and this sorry, the synth string sound is such a sought after, and it's almost like a learning point when you're learning synthesis kind of a thing. There were whole synthesizers dedicated to just reproducing the synth string sound kind of a
Exactly.
thing.
Yeah.
And it was
Sure.
huge, obviously 70s and 80s when you couldn't have an orchestra behind you, but you could have a mellotron, or you could have one of these synth strings kind of a thing. One of the
Yeah.
first pads, I would say, to like really be
Mm.
a thing.
yes. And I would also say that it's like a feedback loop, which is like the more people use electronic instruments like MIDI instruments, sample libraries, etc., which has been happening since what, the 80s, 90s, since the 90s. The more that we hear that, and the more, everyone in Hollywood copies each other, temp tracks and stuff like that. The sound of films and the sound of TV, it enters a certain, like, that just becomes the style. And so it's to a point where, like, I was listening to an interview about, like, they're doing music for The Crown, the TV show. That's a TV show, right? The Crown.
Mm-hmm.
They got a budget to use a real orchestra, which is rare nowadays to use a real orchestra. They got a budget to use a real orchestra. They recorded some stuff, and the director or producers or whatever were like, that sounds kind of weak. Like, that doesn't sound as good as what you had before, which was like the mock-up with the electronic instruments. So what I'm
Right.
saying is, like, because then we just hear so much of the like fake strings and the fake instruments, the more that we hear that, the more that we think that is the real instrument.
We're getting more
So
conditioned to these sounds for sure.
it's not it's not just conditioned, but for people who have mostly heard things using fake instruments, then it's totally understandable that they would think that that is what real instruments sound like.
Right.
And so then it hearing real instrument is sort of like a moment of like, which one is real? And even if you know one is real, but you've already gotten accustomed to the other one, like how do you navigate that? And it's so complicated. It's such a complicated issue. And actually, like, also in the classical music world, just the fact of recording technology, and some classical music recordings even have like 1,000 edits in them. Like, you would never know, because we think like, oh, that's, and then when people perform live and they can't ever sound as good as they did on the recording, it can be disappointing for people. It's sort of like, basically what I'm saying is, like, Instagram filters and Facetune and all the ways that you can edit your photos to look better on social media or whatever. All of that stuff happens in the music industry as well. And music now sounds more polished and can sound much more bombastic without having actually the effort of bringing in players. And like, you can fix anything, you can make anything sound like, the overall effect is that individual things might sound prettier, but overall, our ears are being conditioned, just like our eyes are on Instagram, our ears are being conditioned to crave this more sterile sound.
It's perfection for sure.
Yeah.
So
It's
sorry about that
making,
rant.
No, it's okay. It's something I talk to my students all the time when we're working on, like, even just like simple recordings. It's about making a product. There's an artistry behind it, of course, but then at the end of the result, the end of the day, these synths, these string samples, these guitar york, it's about making this product enjoyable 1,000 times over.
Yes.
Yeah. Versus, then there's live experience, and that's a different kind of thing. But yeah, it's about making a product. It's the same
That's
every time.
Yeah.
Well, y'all, I'm gonna give myself one of these real quick
Okay. Is that it?
because I gotta get going.
Oh.
Oh,
I'm like, what is that?
that's my exit music. Sorry, y'all. I normally could stay later, but since we got started a little late today, I gotta get going.
That's all good.
That's all
But
We should
good.
probably wrap
we'll
up
s-
soon
I'll
anyway.
see-
But
I'll see everybody for next week's episode. Okay.
yes.
And
yes. Thank you,
and
James.
everyone have an awesome weekend. Okay.
yes.
You
I mean,
too.
Well,
Okay.
now that James is gone, I can put the score up here. So,
I got
They're
too
right
many
over
notes.
him.
The drummer is confused. The drummer is.
yeah, goodbye, drummer.
All right. Bye, guys.
So,
Guitarist.
so this is what I'll play it next week. It's fine. It's it's not happening. So, what Justin played was exactly. A lot of people said it in chat. Was the spot where about what happened. Well, you can see. I wrote out what's happening. So, I can play it on the violin. So. Oh, I forgot to narrate. Okay, wait. Oh, crap. Okay. So we hear this.
About what happened.
Listen, Omega. About what happened. I tried to control it. I tried as hard as I could. I just couldn't, what does it say? Make it stop. I know, Wrecker. It's okay. Then this is when Wrecker sees the Mantell mix and gasps. And then the mission's over. Thanks, kid. Yep. And then they're eating. Oh, and I wish, I'll try to play the harmonies. I'm going to loop myself.
Okay.
What is that?
Oh, that's me. Sorry.
Oh,
I hit
it's
something.
okay.
I hit something. I was just looking at the those harmonies you had there.
Here we go. Okay, I'm going to loop myself, so. Okay, now it's looping back around, so I'm going to,
Okay.
let me put this in James's spot. There we go. Listen, Omega, about what happened. I tried as hard as I could. I just couldn't. I know, Wrecker. It's okay. Okay, when it loops around again, I'm using a looping pedal, by the way, everyone, so this is what I just recorded. So this time around, I'm going to play the harmonies.
All right.
I'm going to pluck it now because I messed up a little bit because I'm reading bass clef. Crap.
Pluck it.
Terrible example. Here we go. That harmony is a very omega one. It's coming up again. We always hear
Those
in
6.
here. It's a very omega. And then, oh, I love this one. The harmonies here are great. Oh, my favorite. And then here. And this one.
It's that
so
B
good.
flat, and that
Yes.
those seconds are just great. That 9th later.
So I'm going to keep unraveling layers, and Justin, you can add as we're going. So I'll explain why this is very omega-y. So harmony is, okay, the melody of a song is the part where you can sing it, basically. It's the part with it's the melody. It's, if you could only play one part, Justin played the melody earlier.
Yeah, it's the part you go home singing.
Yeah.
It's the part you go home, they get stuck in your head.
Yeah, and so by adding another quote-unquote voice, like I'm doing right now, what I'm doing is adding the harmony. And the harmony is sort of, I think of it as, let me just stop this so I can talk for a second. Okay. The harmony is what gives something a color, in my, at least how I experience it. So like I'm going to sing something and Justin harmonize with me in one way and then reharmonize it in another way. So I'm just going to sing one note. Now change notes. Yeah. So actually do a minor third and then a major third. Like, so we do, you know what I mean?
Don't test me. Okay.
Or you can sing and I'll harmonize with you.
How about we do that? That'd be easy.
So this is what Justin's singing. Yeah. Okay, stay on that note. So one way to harmonize with that note could be if I go, keep singing it. Another way I could harmonize it is, I just did another way. You don't have to hold your breath. You can like you can just restart
You said
it.
keep going.
I'm like,
Keep singing it.
I don't want you to pass out. Like, so you get the point. Harmony is like when you have more than one voice. So the interesting thing with Omega's theme is her harmony, at least in like the primary way that we hear it at the beginning of the season, is it's a homophonic texture, right, Justin? Would you say that? So by that I mean like homo, so like one, basically, like the same. So in music, I guess you could say that there's like polyphony and then there's like homophony, and that's just like many voices, or many voices, I guess, or many, things, or more like one. So I guess what it is like if you're singing in harmony and switching notes at the same time, rather than like if you were to have a chord change every 4 bars or something. So the parts of Omegas where I keep pointing out this is a super Omega E. That's what I mean.
Those harmonies,
like when we get those points where she's forgiving him, and we get those moments where we start to ease back into her theme. And it's not until the second time her theme comes around, when he says, listen, Omega, her theme is incomplete. But when she says, I know, Wrecker, we finish the final note. Justin, do you see where it's the 5/4 bar up there and then the 6/4 bar the second time?
Yep.
Yeah. So last time. So this is listen, Omega, and here we get an incomplete phrase. So he's apologizing.
Yeah.
then here, she's I know wrecker, and then we finish it. And then we keep going. This is like part made me cry when I watched it.
That's why I picked this part too. It's just so gorgeous. It's such a gorgeous moment,
And I love how this harmony at the end is surprising. It's surprising because we don't normally harmonize things by like just adding a major second. Like, I mean, even if you don't know what a major second is, like normally this would be like, yeah, like in Western music theory or whatever. This just would not normally be considered a consonant interval, especially when to end on, and that's how it ends. So in that moment when those two lines are happening, there's the upper line, which is the celeste, which is what you played.
Mm-hmm.
The lower one is almost like it's so
it's so simple.
It's still,
which is
part of it is like it's unsure. It's not just like falling in line with the typical harmonies. It reminds me of like two people figuring out their relationship to each other and like really trying and treading lightly and maybe making some missteps, but it still works. And that's
I like that.
I think it's brilliant there.
I like what you're saying about that because in the idea of homophonic music versus polyphonic music, I always because you could still have a lot of things happening in a homophonic score, but everything moves together on the same beat, and while there might be things in between, it's really all kind of just like you were saying, Chris, Xanthe, it's like a chord every whatever and I feel like even this with the two harmonies still has that homophonic feel. This is something you can easily play on a harp or a single instrument by yourself, two fingers, everything fits together. And in the idea that this is the relationship together, which I've loved the development of Wrecker and Omega. It's just such a great relationship. These are two parts moving together and learning how to move together.
Yes.
As you're saying.
Yep.
And by not working, the two voices not working against itself, there's some supporting moments, of course. I mean, I don't know, there's moments that do move a little bit differently, but it's still very much working together. I like that, and it shows just to circle back around again, shows a relationship solidifying. I think they just went through a very traumatic moment, and the idea that they can forgive each other.
Well, I feel
immediately.
like
I mean, Omega
I don't
forgive,
think, I feel like, well, I don't think that she has to forgive him, or like I feel like I feel like there still might be some stuff that comes up later for them, but she's forgiving him, but that doesn't mean she's not affected. She wasn't affected by that. But what I like is that it's not harmonized like perfectly.
Mhm,
Like I like
mhm.
that there's like imperfection, like such so-called imperfections in the harmony. It feels more real. Like I don't think I would have liked it at all if it were just like super saccharine notes at the
Ended
end that just like
ended on a nice little major
nice-
chord, and
that would
they're
have felt
friends
really fake
again.
to me.
Yeah, I get that. I like that. Yeah.
So I think that
It-
part of the score for me, especially since it was like dropped down to two instruments and it was so intimate, like I think that was my favorite part, where it felt more human.
Yeah, I like what Steven's saying too, or sorry, excuse me, Stefan. The dissonant ending leaves us with some tension when the scene is ending.
Yeah,
You know,
and what's interesting is like right after that moment is when we kind of go back to Hunter. Is it Hunter? No, not Hunter. Rex, and he's like copy that, and we kind of go to a whole other thing. We get like a G minor suspension to a D minor thing, so we get like we're in this. And then we get it's like very somber chords after that, but like
Yeah.
sort of string suspension-y things when we're kind of moving back onto the real world, like after this microcosm of this Omega Hunter or Omega Wrecker moment. Yeah, it's great.
I wonder then, in using this music and using this bizarre, not bizarre, but un unfinished, unsettling, gorgeous harmony in the end, if this is gonna hint at maybe the inhibitor chip wasn't it, kind of a thing. Maybe there's still something that could happen with between Wrecker and Omega, something like that. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe removing the chip isn't enough. Um, I
I
don't
don't think
know.
it's enough. Just because like the trauma is
Yeah,
gonna live with them. I feel like in this moment, like yeah, smooth things over. You're just so relieved that your friend's okay and that you're out of the red zone. But this is the type of thing where they're probably gonna have many more conversations about it down the line. And
yeah,
Omega's probably gonna have some nightmares. It's gonna, and they're both probably gonna have some nightmares about this. So I don't think it's the
yeah.
last of dealing with it. But even if there's not another like super big incident, I feel like there's still already a lot to grapple with.
Oh
A lot
yeah,
of people
yeah,
are
yeah,
echoing the music added to the emotion, blah blah. Yeah, yeah, like I teared up there for sure. Um, the distant ending. Also, I think Stefan said about you said color about what happened. Sounds mainly purple to me. Very beautiful.
yeah. Hmm.
Nice. We have a little. I feel music as colors a lot of the time. So
Hmm.
nice. I like when yeah. I like sort of feeling things in different ways like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, lots of great insight in the comments here. So I guess that is like sort of the main standout music from the episode for me.
I would
And
say the
and
same.
what we already talked about with like the effect of the super sub bass stuff.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Those were really the standouts. The other thing I would even just add to that is, like I said in the beginning of this stream, everything there was just so much metallic going on. I felt with the percussion and even with some of the sound design. I mean, yeah, they're on a metal ship. I get that. So of course we're gonna bring out squeaky metals and clangs and stuff like that. But um, I was oddly enthralled by the sound design itself and just the Foley
Oh,
done in this episode. The Foley in this is just this episode really, really stood out to me.
me too,
Um,
especially in that spot when they're getting to Braca. I mentioned this in
yeah,
Star Wars Explained stream yesterday. I like there are so many layers like that sound. My favorite part is when they're opening the door and you can hear how heavy the door is.
yeah.
And then you can hear like the ambient beep coming in
Yeah,
through.
and the just all the metal clinging and like the you
Yes,
know
and
what I
then the
mean, like
rats
those
scampering on the
sounds.
metal, and you can
Yeah,
hear it. Yeah.
their nails. Uh-huh.
So
Yeah.
regarding the Blade Runner stuff, it just occurred to me: is it this? Do you know?
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
yeah.
that's the I call it the Omega is nervous
Omega
thing.
is nervous. Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
very Blade Runner-y. Blade Runner is it's got those. It's got some smooth, oddly jazzy MIDI sax, and it's got some. I think I could be wrong. I think it's a kind of a fun MIDI sax, and just the
Saxophone.
most gorgeous, complicated, or I say complicated, but complex pads of some of the most beautiful polyphonic synthesizers ever created. But that's its own. That's its own thing.
Yeah. Oh, well, anyway, thank you everyone for joining us. Cutting Stefan, I have synesthesia too. Um, but it's what's funny is like everyone hears and sees and has like no one has like the same kind of it. No one
Hmm.
it doesn't
Hmm.
manifest in the same way for everyone. So that's funny. I like that they played a portion of the end of Clone Wars season 7 when Rex's hand slipped over his gun. Um,
Hmm.
I think Rex's. Do you mean like I was hearing some like perfect fourth, perfect fifth thing like doo doo doo. Wait,
I
I've had
think
that stuck in my
right
head.
when
So
yeah, right when
yeah.
they were saying you haven't put your chips out yet. Is that, I think, is what we're talking about? Like, it's more
Yeah, and she
dangerous. I'd
protects
have to go
him,
listen.
protects her. This last episode is also very metallic, but more in a Terminator kind of way. I haven't seen Terminator, but
I would agree with that. I
seems.
would agree with that cutting room floor. Very Terminator.
And
It's
then,
all around that time. Yeah.
as in the previous episode on Corellia, it was a perfect example of how the music told us Rex's emotions in the scene. Order 66 vibes. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and that's the role of music, right? Sound design helps us feel sound design like helps us justify that we are the reality, right? Sound design sort of
Yep.
justifies the reality, and music kind of then elevates us to an emotional place. That's how I see it.
I would agree.
You have to have something to anchor you more in reality to make the emotion stand out. It can't all be super, like if it were all super surreal, it would just be like, I don't know, everything is so everywhere. I don't even know what I'm watching. Yeah. Anyway, I think next episode is going to be a big one.
Still haven't seen Crosshair. I'm waiting for Crosshair.
Because there's going to be an album that comes out for episodes 1 through 8. So that's why I think next episode we'll probably have some music to add to our favorite music moments. As always, it'll be interesting to see what is on the soundtrack. What of all the things that we have like demonstrated so far. And after next week, I think I'm going to try to make like a bingo board or something for all of the predictions and all the like the things that keep popping up for the rest of the season. If I can figure out how to do that and randomize it so that when we watch Bad Batch and I can share it and stuff. So we watch Bad Batch, if any of those themes or any of those instruments or any of those like sound moments or funny
Come
things
back,
pop up, then we can check that off, because I think we'll have enough info after 8 episodes to make even more predictions for the rest of the season. Whew. Thanks for joining me again, Justin. And
Thank you for having.
bye to James, who we already said bye to James. And
Bye,
thank you
James.
for everyone who watched this live or watches a replay. Thank you for your interest in great questions and for bearing with all of my technical difficulties today, which I'm going to have to talk to the technology people, the technology gods after this. Did I write gun? Did I write gun? Oh, you meant, yeah. I know what you meant.
No.
Blaster. No one saw. Well,
Blaster.
I better put this correction up here. Blaster.
Blaster.
Yeah. So we'll be back again next week at 3 p.m. Pacific time for music and sound commentary and a little fun quizzing each other on Bad Batch episode 8. Yeah.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.